Welcoming everyone to HogvilleNET Football, our special segment, day one, not even 24 hours after being announced as Arkansas's new head coach, Ryan Silverfield, already in the recruiting circles, already getting in-state commitment flips, which is a big deal. I know in Arkansas, it's especially a big deal, given the love of the fan base for the in-state players that want to be Hogs, that are good enough to be Hogs, good enough to help the Razorbacks. And it starts off, his picture's in the middle of the screen. Otis, he's so big, we blew up the picture a little bit. It's cutting into your mug there, man. Apologize for that. We'll work on that and make that a little smaller. But look, it's Danny Beal.
Man, Danny Beal's better looking than I am. But no, hey, man, 6'4", about 300 pounds, 310. And number one player in the state, was committed to Oklahoma State. But when Mike Gundy got fired, soon after that, he decommitted. But I think he would have flipped to Arkansas anyway. But we'll never know. It doesn't matter. It's just point. He's a Razorback. And I tell you what, this they need defensive linemen. You can never get too many of those, Kevin. And he is a good one. And, he'll play tackle and just be a standout in that defense. I can see it happening. And but he has offers from all over the country. It wasn't just Oklahoma State. He chose Missouri, and once he decommitted, Missouri and Ole Miss came hard after him. Yeah. And I'm sure LSU would have too when Kane got down there, because Kane was recruiting him from Ole Miss. Lane, I'm sorry, I called him Kane. I'm sorry, Lane. Somebody's asking about like Kane Archer, Lane Kiffin. Wow. But there's too many names similar here.
Yeah.
But Lane was recruiting him for Mississippi. Yeah. So, yeah, he would have probably gone after him at LSU. But he's going to be a Razorback, and that's good.
You mentioned his measurables. Yeah, you mentioned his measurables. Pushing 6'4". I've seen 300, 315 pounds. Right. 247 Sports ranks him in the top 120, the number one player in the state, like you said. That's a 4-star. ESPN has him ranked even higher, 108th. But this is the top player in the state, and he's one of three. Otis, you got a couple of kids out of Bryant, which is a football factory down there. We know Cherry Valley and Cross County's had some players, but not like Bryant. They've got at least three, but two that have flipped and are now going to be Razorbacks. Talk about the running back. Talk about both of them.
T.J. Hodges, I tell you what, he is a good one. He was at Mark Tree. They played for the state championship, I think, this Saturday against Bentonville, and two more Razorback commitments. So anybody will see some Hogs. They go to that game and see a bunch of future Hogs. But it'll be at Little Rock too. But no, TJ is about 6'1", 180, can run real well. He's got about 900 yards right now. He had over 1,700 at Mark Tree last year. He can catch the football. But he's got about 900 yards rushing on 108 carries, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And he should have a big game Saturday, too, against Bentonville. Be interested to see who wins that game, but he's the only one of the group that took an official visit to Arkansas. TJ did under the O-staff, but they didn't offer him much. They took another running back instead from South Carolina. And then Ja'Cory Smith is a linebacker that just was committed to OU, about 6'1", 190, 195. Might end up being a safety, might be a nickelback, could be a linebacker, outside linebacker. Right. There's a lot of options with Ja'Cory Smith. The big thing is he can play football. If he can play football, you can find a place for him. OU's having no trouble finding a place for him, and I'm sure that Ryan won't either. But that's huge. And getting these three kids, and there's more they're trying to get, but getting those three, I will say this, the third kid at Bryant, Matt Nelson, it may not mean anything, but he was retweeting the kids this morning that committed to Arkansas.
Another defensive lineman.
Yeah, it may not mean anything, but he's committed to OU. Ja'Cory left OU for Arkansas, so we'll see if Matt Nelson does the same thing. Anthony Kennedy from Little Rock Central was committed to Miami, decommitted. Now Arkansas is certainly in the mix there. I predict they'll get Kennedy. Braxton Lindsey from Rogers, a linebacker, would be a huge get. He's committed to BYU. Those are kind of the three main ones. Evan Goodwin's been mentioned out at Bauxite, but I'm not sure they'll get him. And he's offensive lineman. Really, the other three be more important because they're defensive players. Kennedy, Nelson, and Braxton Lindsey. And anyone that saw Arkansas play this year can attest they need all the help on defense they can get, Kevin.
Well, you mentioned defensive line, how if you can get players for that seems to be really being, it was problematic for Arkansas this year. I think the other thing you mentioned is, different recruiting strategies, philosophies. If a kid can play, you'll figure out where to play him. And so some coaches look at it differently. But I like that. And I like it. Yesterday we did a segment talking about the new hire. And if you were looking for a splash, or if you were looking for the candidate, the range of candidates, it would seem like this was not a big step for Arkansas relative to who they're competing against. But that's a different statement, and one that will not matter. And I mentioned it yesterday, beyond the hire, if the guy can win. But you can't win right now. The season just ended. What you got to start winning are recruiting battles. You got to start selling your program. And he's in day one, you're starting to see some of that. So I wanted your thoughts about that part of it, because you see three names already flipping, more coming. I think you're right about Kennedy.
Yeah.
But talk about getting some momentum so that you can get boosters behind you, fans, folks that are going to pitch in NIL or other things you need. I mean, let's talk about it. What are your thoughts here?
Well, a lot of people complained about, say, I'm not taking the in-state kid. And going and getting 3-4 stars from inside the state should get fans that's got the cash to ante up a little bit. You want to see what your money's going for. And if they see that he's using it to get an in-state kid, I think more people will be willing to do it. And also something about momentum and recruiting that you talked about. You got 13 commitments otherwise. You got these three, but going in, if you can get some more and then go into that portal period in January, because that's going to be important for him. I mean, it's going to be huge, man. It will determine next year's team, the portal will. And if he can go into that with a lot of momentum from the high school portion of recruiting, he should do well. And if he can do that, then there's no reason he can't win some games. I mean, they didn't have much of a defense this year. The offense shut down in the second half, and they still could have won 7 or 8, 9 games. I mean, they were right there at the end of most of those games, other than Notre Dame in Texas. So, look. I've heard people griping about the hire. Look, man, there was no splash hire out there. I don't know. Oh, I wanted Calipari time. Well, who was it? Lane Kiffin wasn't coming. James Franklin didn't come. Rhett Lashley stayed at SMU. So who was the splash hire you wanted? I mean, there's not one.
No.
Wake up, people. There's not one. It didn't matter if they hired King Womack, who I liked. It didn't matter if they hired Alex Gullish, who I didn't like. It didn't matter who they hired. Eric Morris. It was going to be a iffy hire. It's going to be. There's a question. You're rolling the dice with him and Silverfield, all those guys. It's a rolling dice. Some will work out, and some won't. But the guy's won 29 games the last 3 years combined.
Yes,
and if you can do that, 29 games in 3 years, I think Arkansas fans would take anything close to that after 0 or 2 wins this year. 2 wins.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about. I like the points that you make. It's always. Even some of the more established schools that are in a higher pecking order of picking and choosing who they want to get as a coach, that doesn't always work out. Look at LSU and the reason why LSU's making a hire. Look at Auburn as an example. Now Ole Miss is in that situation. I mean, so, Arkansas, it seems to me like after Bobby Petrino 1.0 nearly 15 years ago, Arkansas's kind of been wandering in the dark in terms of finding the right fit.
Right.
They're arguably the worst program in the SEC at this point in football. It's hard to, make a case that they're not, but all it takes is the right hire and the proof will be in the pudding, and it can change everything. And Arkansas, because they were so close in every game this year, you can say, well, there are no moral victories. No, but it wasn't like it was so bad that Arkansas couldn't compete in the SEC.
Well,
and you get the right guy in. It's not. And here's a question I have. All right, here's another question. You mentioned the portal.
Well, let me give you an example real quick of what you're talking about. Look at Vanderbilt. They were the worst team. They make a hire. Clark Lee, look what happened over there. They're no longer the laughing stock. Vanderbilt was the Arkansas a few years ago, and look where they're at now. as you said, it takes one hire. And I just want to point out Vanderbilt and Indiana are two schools that have done that. But SEC, Vanderbilt, but Indiana too. Those two were bottom dwellers. Indiana and Vanderbilt were bottom dwellers, and look what they did making the right hire. It's the right hire, not the splash hire, not the big time hire, not the bad hire. It's the right hire. And if you made it, we don't know if Arkansas made it or not, but if they did, things will change here.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned the portal and how important that's going to be, because it is. Who do you envision, or have you gotten far enough down the road to think about who he might bring with him from Memphis, or have you heard anything about who might be the kind of players that he would want that could help Arkansas in the SEC?
I haven't had time, Kevin. It just kind of he sprung this on us yesterday, and I've been up to my neck. I've written 5 stories today, so I haven't had time to write even. I've noticed a few kids going in the portal. I saw a running back from somewhere, a linebacker that I liked a little bit. So I've seen a Texas Southern linebacker. I believe he was a linebacker. But there's some kids going in there that I like, but I haven't had time to sit down and really look at the portal. But I would assume there's not going to be a lot of positions they don't need. Well, a lot of that's going to depend on who Arkansas hits the portal.
That was a next question.
Just right now, I would say defensive linemen, linebackers, secondary course, wide receiver, maybe running back, but maybe just one there. A quarterback may be a need, depending on what KJ and high school they do there. But tight end might be a need. But for the most part, it's basically a little help at every position. I think the big time help, though, will be on defense, where they really just need to restock everything over there.
Yeah. And this has been, this is a little bit, if you look at him prior to being a head coach at Memphis, his background is not unlike Sam Pittman on the college level in terms of being kind of an offensive line specialist, right? That's most of his college. Now, he's had some experience in NFL, but you mentioned KJ Jackson, dual threat quarterback, fits into most systems that are run now in college football. It's not like they're, and I just wonder, what are your thoughts if it's, I guess it's still too early to know what'll happen here, but how do you feel about the potential of keeping him? Or do you have any thoughts on that right now?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think it'll be huge for him to keep KJ Jackson. I think he needs to keep Grayson Wilson, those two kids. You keep those. I don't know what the Florida State transfer that was here 1 year will do, but I think it's very important to keep KJ and Grayson. But you can't get by with two quarterbacks. So what I would like to see happen, you keep those two, at least. If you keep the Florida State kid fine, but keep KJ and Grayson, then go to the high school ranks and get somebody. Wish it was Kane Archer, but get somebody, and then go to the portal and get another kid, and you've got 4 then. Yeah. And you'll lose 1 or 2 after next season. That's the portal. That's the transfer portal at quarterback. But there's always going to be a quarterback there. But I'd like to see him do that. And but I'd love to see him keep KJ. I think he's a very good quarterback. And I think the deal about KJ, he's only going to get better, Kevin.
No, I agree with that. He looks like he cares. He plays like a guy that wants to win every possession, move the chains, get it, it doesn't look like he's okay with failure on a team that's losing like that, and he's still trying. I think that his body language, so that to me now, Kane Archer, you brought that up. I wasn't going to let us get out of here at any point without bringing that name up, because he's had his own movement here recently. But what are your thoughts about that situation and how that could potentially land with if at all, with Arkansas moving forward?
Yeah, I'd like to see Kane. End up at Arkansas, but I mean, they've got to offer him and want him first. And right now, he's committed to Utah. But I can tell you this: if Arkansas offered him, he would flip. And we'll see where he signs anyway on Wednesday. But he is midterm, so if Arkansas wants him, they got today and tomorrow to get it done, and that's it. And so we'll see what happens there. But we'll see. But that's the big things right there that we'll see what happens. But I like Kane. The biggest thing is if they win the championship game down there, he's going to be 39-0.
Yeah.
39-0. How do you have a quarterback that never lost the game as a starting quarterback in high school and not want him? I mean, and look, he's got amazing stats. Rush for over 1,000 yards, pass for several thousand this year. But it's not. Those are great. Those are great. But kids can put up stats, but nobody's 39-0, man, if they win this week. And so that's just amazing to me. It really is.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, I follow every weekend, every Friday night. I follow Greenwood and a lot of the teams in the state.
Mhm.
I'm kind of plugged in because I'm paying attention to
Mhm.
all of that every Friday night. And his story is one of the best ones around there.
Yeah.
We've both been in this state
Mhm.
forever, and he's
Yeah.
one of those that will be talked
Big
about at the
time,
high
man.
school level. And so, and especially as a midterm, it gives you some that gives you another maybe edge
Mhm.
getting someone in that soon because that's a few weeks away. All right, we got his picture up here. Going back to Danny Beal real quick. When was his visit? I mean, I know it's a different staff now; it's a different scenario. But what do you like? Obviously, Arkansas needs help on defensive line. We talked about that. But what do you like? What is special about this player and that makes him the number one player in the state? Do you think?
Well, I think the thing I like about him more than anything else, he's a versatile defensive lineman. And that, I mean, he's comfortable rushing the passer and he's comfortable defending the run. He's got good size and he can do both. And that's what you want in a defensive lineman. You can have a specialty player who's more against the run or a more deluxe pass rusher. And Jordan Harris would be one of those guys, maybe more of a pass rusher. But if you can get a kid like Beal that's 300 pounds or plus, 300 plus, and plug him in, and he's an every down player, that's huge, man. And I think he is. And Gundy liked him and had him committed. And like I said, I think he would have flipped to Arkansas even if he hadn't decommitted. But then again, we'll never know. And at this point, as I said earlier, it doesn't matter. But the big thing is he's going to be a Razorback at 8:30 Wednesday morning.
It's right there. The timing is great. Now, look, if he's good at both, if he's capable of doing both, like you said, that means he's really good on his feet for that size. And that's a big man, and he's got to be really good and somewhat agile at that size on his feet. We've seen Arkansas at different eras really embrace in-state kids. I know we started talking about it. I'm going to kind of wrap up here as we get closer to 20 minutes with the recruiting part. What kind of snowball do you think is really possible here? How many more? You went through some of the names, but give me an idea how many more you think they might
Well,
flip.
I mean,
How key is that?
I know they'd like to get Braxton Lindsey from Rogers, BYU commit, a linebacker. Anthony Kennedy from Little Rock Central, defensive tackle, big kid, bigger than Beal even.
Yeah.
Matt Nelson's the other one from Bryant, 6'5", 230 or so, defensive end. He's pledged to an edge, and he's pledged to Oklahoma. So, those three. Hey, if you get any of those, Jordan Harris from Maumelle too, 6'7", 230.
We didn't talk about him.
From Maumelle. So that's 4 kids, 4 more in the state that I could see him trying to flip and getting. Well, some of them are not. I mean, right now, some of those are not committed anywhere else. 2 of them are, and 2 of them aren't. But they have been. They were. Kennedy was committed to Miami, but he decommitted, so they're out. But yeah, I mean. But if you could get Harris, Kennedy, and Nelson, that's 3 more defensive linemen. And you get Braxton for linebacker. See, that's defense, and that's where I think they really need to hit on. And that's what he hit on 2 of the 3 today. And they need a running back because Mike Washington's gone. He'd be in the Senior Bowl, and who knows what Braylon Russell's going to do. So I don't know, but that's something to look at.
Well,
but Braylon comes back, and I hope he does. And you got Cam Sellers. You still need more than 2 running backs.
Well, and you mentioned Jordan Harris. He was one of the top basketball players in the state at one point. I covered him during the high school season, spring and summer grassroots. Very athletic, can jump out of the gym.
Super.
And he's a guy that the more I saw him as a football prospect, I remember when Arkansas, he went up to camp and they offered him around the time of some other players under Pittman. But he's a guy that, like you said, the more you can add on defense. Now, a lot of these guys, they're going to be development, right, to some degree in year one. But that's what recruiting is at the high school level for the most part of college football.
On Harris, 50 tackles, 27 tackles for losses, 15.5 sacks, 5 pass breakups, and 3 forced fumbles this season.
Yeah, he moves
the reason I say he's more of a pass rusher right now, basketball was his sport for the longest, so he may be a little bit behind these other kids who have played football and concentrated on football forever, but his potential is as good as any of them, maybe more. You know,
Right. Well, we
I
saw
mean,
that
his
before.
upside, 6'7" upside, as you said, could jump. So he may have the most potential of any upside of anybody.
Well,
So that's the thing, you know.
well, you can remember a basketball player here in Central Arkansas many moons ago. What was his name? He played in the NFL. He went to the Falcons, I believe. But remember who I'm talking about? Out of Parkview. Remind us.
Jamal Anderson.
Boom. So
Jamal's a good dude, man. He's a
Yep.
good dude.
So-
yeah, people cry. He was a 2-star when Arkansas came. I never will forget. Here's what's funny. When Arkansas committed him, Houston committed him, he was a 2-star. Everybody griped. 3 years later, the kid's getting ready to go to the NFL, be a first-round draft choice. The same idiots are begging him to stay in Arkansas. You know, so the same people who are many of the same people who are ripping him are now begging him to stay in Arkansas and not go to the NFL and he's first-round draft choice. That's why I've quit arguing with these people.
Well,
I mean,
well, look, I remember his teammate at the time was the more highly regarded Mark Winston football player, and they got. So this is why, you know, you're going to have hit and miss in recruiting, no matter where you're recruiting. Some people are down on Arkansas prospects. Some believe it should be part of the lifeblood of what you're building. I'm the latter. I think if you've got players that are being offered and committed to Miami, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, some of these schools, there's good enough there's good enough evaluation from high major staffs that see something there, and it doesn't mean that you have to agree with them, but you better make sure you're not wrong about that. And if you can get them and keep them in state, I say do that. I think it's and I think this is a good early opening salvo for Ryan Silverfield. I think optics matter, Otis, and even if there wasn't a splash hire yesterday, and even if I was among them criticizing Arkansas. Not that they couldn't get a splash hire. I think you're right. Relative to everything else in college football, Arkansas wasn't going to have that. But was there another path? Was this the most serious hire, or is it a case where Arkansas is settling and they don't have a choice? Where's the money? All these things that come into play because we're still waiting to hear those details. But if that's the hire, what does the guy do next? What does he do first? So this was a big start.
He couldn't have got a better start today than what he did. This was the best thing that could have happened to him today. And if he can finish it out with a couple or three more of these kids, 4 kids I mentioned, if he can get 4 of them, that'd be great. But if he can get 1 or 2 of those 4, it'd be great. If he can get 4, it'd be awesome. But I don't know if that's realistic. But I mean, hey, he's trying, and that's the bottom line. The effort wasn't there on some of these kids, and that was a sad deal that Arkansas didn't give the effort. They didn't even offer Matt Nelson when Sam was here, and there's no excuse for that.
Yeah, well,
that's inexcusable.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's more than one way to skin a cat. But again, I think if you're going to have this job, I think it's got to start in state. We know that's not going to be enough. You're not going to build a power in the SEC, but I think it's important. I think it shouldn't be at the bottom of your priority list. Put it that way. It shouldn't be a perception of that anyway. Not that you're going to make everybody happy. All right. So I want to wrap up here with a couple of things because we're getting closer to 25 minutes. One is, when there's a coaching hire and all the things that are going on and media is trying to do its job, including you do a great job, always have. You're going to get some criticism from fans about what they think you know or don't know. And sometimes what they think they know is usually wrong until the hire is made. And now it does look good. But just in terms of how you're covering this, how do you feel about this hire? Even before you started to see some of the positives come out today, what are your initial thoughts about this hire?
Okay, my initial thoughts were just what I said last night on X. I think look, he's a roll of the dice. I don't know how he'll turn out, but the people griping about him and trashing him, they don't know either. It's a roll of the dice, but all I know, I've been told that Auburn, Florida, Oklahoma State, and Ole Miss are all better jobs than Arkansas. That's been written all year by people. Guess what? They hired coaches, Morris, Oklahoma State, Arkansas didn't want it. Golish, Auburn, Arkansas chose Silverfield over here. Florida got Sumrall. He didn't show any. And Golding and Ole Miss are really? I mean, these are supposed to be 4 programs better than Arkansas. You don't think that's a roll of the dice on all 4 of those coaches? It is. And just like Silverfield. But like I said, I don't know what I'm not sitting here telling people, hey, he's going to turn out great. I've not said that. What I've said, the man, first, he deserves equal support. He deserves a level playing field from the administration and Hunter Yurachek.
Absolutely.
Anybody would have. I'd say the same thing about anybody else. He deserves a level playing field that Sam didn't have. Then second, he deserves a chance. He's a human. He deserves a chance, and he wants to be here. He deserves a chance. We'll see how you look. You give the guy a level playing field, Kevin, and then you give him you give him a chance. What he does with that is determines whether he makes it or not. Not what Otis Kirk thinks about or Kevin McPherson. It doesn't matter. What determines his success is how well, if he's given a level playing field and people give him a chance. He'll handle it one way or the other. If you don't do it, then fire him and get somebody else.
No, I think fans they don't want to go through some of these situations where it spirals down to the bottom of the SEC, but you can't predict that. You have to make a hire, and you aren't at the strongest position relative to some of the other programs. It's not to say your program can't be as good as some of these that others are writing and saying it's not. But at some point you might get there, and now you're above those programs. But until it plays out, you're not sure how it's going to work. Another question I have for you here is staff. What are you hearing so far? What are you getting?
I have not heard anything. I just haven't had time to really work yet.
Okay.
But the biggest hire he's going to make is defensive coordinator. Yeah. That's going to be huge. And I don't have a name on that yet. I haven't had time to work there. But I will say this. Let me just make a quick point about what we were just talking about. He's 3-0 against goalies, 2-0 against Eric Morris, 1-1 against Brett Lashley. So he's 6-1 against those coaches. And he hadn't coached against Golding, and he didn't coach against Summerall. I think he was 1-1 against Summerall, if I remember. But what I'm saying, none of those schools clearly hired a better coach. I'd take Silverfield over any of those four coaches. So, Lane Kiffin, I would take him, but he wasn't coming here.
No.
But the other four schools, they didn't do any better hiring than Arkansas, and we've been told they're better job. But I haven't got a chance. I will start working on that probably tonight, Kevin, before the Lakers play.
Yeah. Right, the Lakers. We got Pro Hogs on there, Otis. We don't have time really to get today, or we can make time, but
Dew actually got a little time last night too in the second quarter. I was proud of him. He only got 3-minute run. But he got a steal. He only played 3 minutes, but it was nice to see him put him in the second quarter.
Hero finally getting to play, right? After
that's the biggest thing. The poor kid didn't get to play summer league. He didn't get to play preseason. Right. Now he finally getting to play. So it's just great. He got to play with the South Bay Lakers some. I mean, the fact he's on the court is huge. How much he plays doesn't really matter. Right. It's the fact he's on the court and getting reps and stuff and learning,
Absolutely.
They're high on him, Kevin. And they like Nick Smith Jr. too. I know we're changing the subject, but I'm just telling you, they like both. I've got two really good sources with the Lakers, two former players.
Right.
And they love both those guys. They love Nick Smith and Dew, and they think Dew's going to be amazing.
Well, that's great. It's great to hear because the Pro Hogs are really doing well across the board this year. Anthony Black having a breakout year. Isaiah Joe with career-high numbers and still shooting with the same efficiency. Moses Moody having career highs everywhere, mostly in the starting lineup.
He's really improved. I love Moody.
Yeah, these guys, I think the one thing about a lot of these guys, I mean, Daniel Gafford, of course, Bobby Portis, they've kind of been, they're a little older, right, than some of the names we just mentioned, but you're seeing the other ones coming to their own, and you look at Jordan Walsh is not only starting for the Celtics, he had a double-double career highs in points and rebounds last night, 14 and 11 in a win, a 2-point win. You start looking around and it proves that the recruiting in basketball, in the previous coaches, because Thero's the only one so far for the GOAT in recruiting, which and putting guys in the NBA, which is Calipari. But all these other names are previous coaching staffs, and I think it shows the quality of the in-state players because a lot of those are in-state guys. Jalen Williams also at Oklahoma City.
Joe.
Well, we mentioned Joe here. But that's okay. But yeah, so most of them in-state guys, but either way, the recruiting is not only quality in-state for not only the SEC and the high major level, but even for the NBA. But I think the recruiting by the coaches that were here to keep those players or get those players in also is a big deal in terms of marketing your program. That's why I think for Silverfield, this is a great start. I mean, the announcement ceremony is Thursday, right? So he's
Yeah,
going to
1
build a
o'clock.
little momentum and excitement, and let's see what he gets done in the next
Mhm.
few days in terms of recruiting, anyway, and what we find out about the staff rolling
Mhm.
into that announcement ceremony.
You bet. I'm looking forward to it, man.
All right, 30 minutes in. Thank you, Otis Kirk at HogvilleNET. Otis and I work together. We talk a lot behind the scenes,
Yeah.
even though he mostly covers football, I mostly cover basketball. Always great to see you, talk to you, Otis. Appreciate you. And for everyone tuning in today, thank you for joining us on HogvilleNet Football, our recruiting segment, day one on the job for our new Arkansas head coach Ryan Silverfield, already flipping high priority
Yeah.
in-state recruits. That's a big deal. A great way to get off the launching pad here on day one. Until next time, thank you for joining us. Appreciate all of you. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.